Cardiovascular studies after study in the National Institute of Health is now coming out saying that using cholesterol medications to lower cholesterol does not reduce the risk factor of heart disease. It's only when you metabolize cholesterol that you reduce those risk factors. If we take a step back and we look again at what our body does with that amazing cholesterol molecule, we can see why metabolizing that reduces our stress levels, improves our hormones, increases and balances our immune system, our brain chemistry, regulates our blood sugar, manages inflammation, and improves the hormones that allow your bodies to adapt to stress. Thank you so much. I'm Haylie Pomroy, and I want to talk to you guys about cholesterol. My goal here is to break down the myth that cholesterol is bad and to build up the belief system that cholesterol is actually a good thing, an amazing thing in your body. Maybe you're under the impression that fat and cholesterol are bad things. Actually, fat is good, and cholesterol is biochemical gold. What do I mean by that? The body actually takes the cholesterol molecule and it manufactures it through the liver to a very important hormone. We call it the master hormone, Pregnenolone. Our body uses this hormone to make all kinds of things. Did you know that estrogen was actually manufactured from the cholesterol molecule? That's right. So many times when we talk about estrogen, we think of things like the ovaries or breast tissue or even fat tissue. But our body's ability to metabolize cholesterol actually determines whether we have a healthy balance of estrogen. It also determines whether our body efficiently detoxifies estrogens that could potentially cause a problem. Did you know that cholesterol also is used, that molecule is the building blocks to create progesterone, things that help hair and sleep? Progesterone is so important for individuals that are struggling with crepey skin or cellulite. It's also important in men. So many times we think of cholesterol as bad, but now as we're starting to say, wait a minute, it's the building blocks for estrogen and progesterone, maybe this cholesterol thing's not such a bad thing. Well, did you also know that cholesterol is used to manufacture a class of hormones that we call glucocorticoids? Glucocorticoids regulate hormones that I'm sure you might have heard about, things like cortisol, epinephrine, all of our natural anti-pain, anti-inflammatory hormones. That's right, those are made from the cholesterol molecule. It's kind of starting to sound important that we maybe metabolize that molecule and we don't halt its production. The other things that glucocorticoids do is they regulate the blood sugar in the body, making sure that as we consume sugar, our body quickly burns it so that it stays in a nice, adequate level in the bloodstream. So our bodies are so smart in creating these hormones that help to regulate and monitor and equalize the body. The other thing that cholesterol manufactures, and maybe you're not aware of it, is a class of hormones called mineral corticoids. Mineral corticoids regulate all kinds of things in the bodies. The electrolytes, so important for individuals that are athletes or if you get dehydrated. They also regulate the blood pressure. So many times when individuals have high cholesterol, we worry about the cholesterol creating plaque in the bloodstream and that that's the risk for heart disease. But it could be that you're not metabolizing cholesterol to create healthy mineral corticoids, therefore having a healthy blood pressure. The other thing that's so important with cholesterol and kind of very important in our time right now is that cholesterol is responsible for manufacturing and the storage, the proper storage of vitamin D. Study after study showing us that vitamin D is important in prevention of every kind of cancer, from breast cancer to prostate cancer to blood cancers. It's vital in our immune systems. It's important for memory, cognition, brain, and brain function. And yet, if we're not metabolizing cholesterol, how are we supposed to have a healthy level of vitamin D? So far we've talked about estrogens and progesterones, mineral corticoids, glucocorticoids, but also it is important in the production and the manufacturing of testosterone. Testosterone is not a hormone that's just important in men. In women, it really helps to regulate hair follicle cycles. It really helps to determine how we lay down lean muscle. It's critical in all of us for our bone density. So that upstream molecule of cholesterol, that's why I call it that biochemical gold, as you can see, is so important in our body's entire overall health. And yet, why do we have this myth that cholesterol is a bad thing in our bodies? It's not that cholesterol is bad in our bodies, it's when we can't metabolize cholesterol that it becomes bad in our body. We leave cholesterol circulating in our bloodstream. We don't break it down, and the liver is really important for that one. We don't break it down to create those building blocks of all the things that we can have within our body. The other thing that's so important about cholesterol, and fortunately science and studies are really supporting that, is that cholesterol is critical for our brain, memory, and cognitive functions. So whether it's forgetfulness or individuals that are dealing with depression or maybe processing issues, the ability to manufacture, produce cholesterol, metabolize it, break it down into those building blocks, and deliver it to the right tissues are vital in the health of our mental body, our physical body, our hormonal body, and our body structure itself. Without cholesterol circulating in our bloodstream, we would lose our minds and then we would die. Our body gets cholesterol from two ways. One, it actually manufactures cholesterol. It manufactures a couple different kinds. The LDLs, or the low down dirty lipoproteins, that's how I always remembered it in school, or the bad cholesterol, and the HDLs, the handy dandy lipoproteins, those ones that actually go in and help your body to break down the cholesterol molecule so that you can make it into this biochemical gold. Thousands of doctors are prescribing statin drugs, which simply mask the underlying problem. If it fixed the problem, we would be able to go off of the drug and our body would have a healthy cholesterol. But we're seeing physicians prescribe this medication, and it's a very powerful medication with levels of a total cholesterol as low as 190. Now, when we use a medication to inhibit cholesterol production, as opposed to using a food prescription to stimulate cholesterol metabolism, you can only imagine what can go wrong. This is why so many people that receive that prescription, that utilize statin drugs to ace their exams, meaning improve their blood levels in a lab, but not improve their overall health, have all kinds of side effects. We have individuals that have body aches in their joints. They have a total body pain. And this makes sense if for a minute we go back to what I said earlier, which is cholesterol is the building blocks for our glucocorticoids, which remember, those are the ones that produce our own natural inflammatory hormones. So if we inhibit that production, we're inhibiting the building blocks, and yet the building still needs to be built. Another really common side effect of statin medications, and I'm not against them. I understand that they're used and used very well for crisis intervention, but at some point we really need to repair the why and really fix what's going on in the body, or we'll have this deficiency in all of those amazing things that I just shared with you help our bodies to manufacture the structure, the hormones, the mind, the body that we desire. So we see a lot of individuals that go on statin drugs or any type of medication that inhibits cholesterol production. We see those individuals have a lot of memory and cognitive issues. We've seen individuals as low as 10 to 20 milligrams of statin drugs. Notice that especially in the short-term memory, they're noticing a deficiency there. We also see so many people have the need for cholesterol, or the labs start to become irregular as they're going through some sort of hormone transition. So if it's premenopause, menopause, or perimenopause, that's in women when we see the cholesterol starting to creep up. Why is that? That's because the demand for the end product, the hormones, the estrogens, the progesterones, the testosterones have changed. And so therefore the body starts to pool the cholesterol instead of breaking it down. Well, the thing is even if you're perimenopausal and you have less estrogen circulating through the bloodstream, your body still has a significant demand, if not even more of a demand, to feed the brain and nourish the structure. Remember, Those mineralocorticoids are responsible for bone density and blood pressure regulation. So even though you don't maybe have as much estrogen circulating through the bloodstream, those building blocks are still crucial to build the body's structure. So many times when individuals go on the statin drugs, we start to see osteopenia or bone density shift, even osteoporosis. If we keep going back to the fact that our paradigm shift, that you and I agree that what science says is true, that the cholesterol molecule is truly that biochemical gold, those building blocks that make all those hormones, of course you're going to have osteopenia or osteoporosis if you inhibit the production of the very thing that determines whether you put calcium into the bone and not let it free into the bloodstream. Which brings up another side effect that a lot of my clients have with long-term statin uses, and that's kidney stones. Again, if we go back, that's because the body isn't putting the calcium up into the bloodstream, and oftentimes it can pool in the blood, leaving a disharmony in the equilibrium of the electrolytes, allowing for stones to form in the kidneys. There are a lot of other things that individuals have a tendency to have as a side effect from those statin drugs. But I'm not here to, bash that protocol. I'm here simply for us to ask, why are we choosing something that doesn't fix the why our body is having a problem in the first place? It's not good to have lipid levels, cholesterol circulating in the blood in numbers of 270, 300, 310, which is what I see a lot in my practice when they first come in the door. It's not okay to just leave it there, circulating and potentially causing a problem. We actually have to prescribe the right diet, which is found in the Fast Metabolism food prescription that hundreds of my clients have used to lower their cholesterol levels. And many of them have eliminated the need for statin drugs. But how do we know if this prescription is effective for you? If we're not using some sort of protocol for progress, if we're not determining some type or some way or some data collection that lets us know that this powerful prescription is right for you. So I'm a nutritionist, not a medical doctor. I have a script pad, I call it a grocery list. I don't prescribe pharmaceuticals. Instead, I prescribe the Fast Metabolism food prescription. It's specific for the cholesterol meal plan, designed to heal the why your body is pooling cholesterol instead of breaking it down into that metabolical biochemical gold. So let's look at what we're going to do in order to see if this is a successful protocol for you. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to check your body's total cholesterol levels. And that's why I've included a home kit, so that you can do this at home and you can see and use markers frequently to determine whether this is a successful protocol for you. When you go into your doctor's office and you go for an annual physical, in our practice, we like to check the total cholesterol, the LDLs, which I said are the bad lipoproteins, the HDLs, the good ones. We definitely like to look at triglycerides also, which is a combination of 3 fats and a sugar. But really, it's the total cholesterol that we monitor super frequently to determine if we're making progress in our protocol. Elevated cholesterol is not a sign that you're eating too much cholesterol or fat. It's a sign that you're having a problem metabolizing cholesterol. And it also shortchanges you from realizing all of the incredible health benefits you get when you convert that biochemical gold. So as we talked, our body naturally produces cholesterol. We also consume cholesterol in both plant and animal-based foods. Cholesterol is found in nuts and seeds. It's found in, most of you are probably familiar, eggs and bacon. But those can actually be nutrients if your body can access them. Especially we look at the whole egg. The whole egg, and we find this even to be in higher concentration with the organic egg, there's a unique nutrient that's called lecithin. Lecithin is also a fat, and it helps the body convert that cholesterol into all of those amazing hormones. So one of the things that we do in our practice as we're starting to create a health prescription, a food prescription for really getting your body to metabolize that cholesterol, and from those building blocks, creating and building the health that you wish, the health that you deserve, is we prepare for those annual physicals. We actually use that book, the Fast Metabolism Food Prescriptions, like a playbook, a winning playbook, so that you can have a successful health journey. And part of that is creating a very successful health dream team. Now, you are the captain of the team. Your healthcare practitioner is a partner in the journey, but it's really you that's going to reap all the benefits and therefore has all of the responsibility and all of the important job of going through and preparing yourself for this physical. So what I like to do is first we get together and in your workbook, we create your health wish list. And I tell my clients to dream big. Tell me everything it is that you want for your health. Maybe you're waking up and you're fatigued all day long. Maybe you're having memory and cognition issues. Maybe you feel like your hormones are out of balance, your body's changed shape, your skin doesn't look as radiant as it used to. I want to go through and make sure that we get all of that aligned. Then we try to establish what it is that we want from our doctor long before we walk in the door. And we create and we work on this designed alliance worksheet. And what that is, it's a worksheet to say, hey, doctor, whomever you are, whether you're my chiropractor or my osteopath or my physical therapist or my primary care doctor, I want to make sure that we're on the same page here. I want to ask you questions like, hey doc, what do you want from me so that I can be the healthiest patient you've ever seen? And then we're going to say, you know doc, what I'd really like from you is for you to run these labs. And that's what we do when we create that request for care. Then we're going to create a protocol for progress. And what that means is, let's talk about cholesterol specifically. Maybe you've gone in for your physical, you've had your labs, and your doctor says, you know, your cholesterol is 232 or 219, and we want to start a statin drug. You might want to say, you know, wait a minute, what is it that you want from me in order to not have to go on that medication? Or maybe you're already on a medication and we need to be asking your doctor, hey doctor, I understand why I needed to be on this medication, but what is it going to take for me to be able to get off of it? That's what I mean by a protocol for progress. What we need to do is create a protocol so that we can be healthier tomorrow than we are today, and that every day it builds on that health. So as part of that protocol for progress, we might be determining that, and in my opinion, if an individual's on statin drugs, that we are minimally checking your cholesterol levels every 6 months. And I say every 6 months, and I know a lot of people, there's so many people on statin drugs, they say, you know, I can't hardly get my doctor to check it every 3 years. And that's why we have those home cholesterol kits. Because if your cholesterol's too high, and just as much if your cholesterol's too low, your body can have all kinds of total body, not just symptoms, but actually manifest some of the pretty dangerous diseases like diabetes and autoimmunity. So the thing that I want to make sure that we do as we create that protocol for progress is that we develop definite benchmarks. And I'm going to take you all through that. But when especially talking about cholesterol and we're making a decision whether to medicate or not to medicate or whether to work with our doctors to come off of our medication, we need some real answers and we need some real numbers so that we can make sure that we're making the decisions that are right for our body. So as we determine that we're going to use a food prescription in this case, and we're going to use our body's ability to metabolize cholesterol to create an abundance of health, we need to make sure we're checking that cholesterol. I can't tell you how many times, you know, we're in a very lucky situation that we have in-house labs, but how many times an individual's come in, they've been on a statin drug, sometimes for 17, 20 years, and they come in and their cholesterol is maybe ranging around 180 or 170, and they feel like it's been a successful therapy because they're keeping those levels low. But then we go in and we do a cardio scan and we find out that there's actually plaques still formed because the body's not metabolizing cholesterol efficiently, is simply making the labs better. So in any of those cases, whether you're not on medication, you've been on medication, we've got to apply a food prescription so that the body can metabolize those. But the thing that can happen sometimes, and why we want the home kits to be accessible, is individuals, let's say, are on a statin drug. We apply the food prescription and the body starts to metabolize cholesterol efficiently. And now that 180 or 170 starts to become 150, 140, or even lower. We've got to make sure that we're partnering with the doctor to make sure that the medications are right based on what the body's doing metabolically. And that's why I always include a medication check sheet. Want to know what medication you're on, why you're on it, and what aspects in your protocol for progress are going to determine whether your dosage stays the same, changes, or the medication goes away altogether. So many times individuals come in, they're on 20, 30. I even have clients that walk through the door on 80 milligrams of Lipitor. Their cholesterol's in the 170s. We start applying a food prescription. They start metabolizing cholesterol, supporting their glucocorticoids, their blood sugar levels, their immune system, their stress hormones. They start supporting their mineral corticoids, their ability to lay down muscle, to regulate the blood pressure, their ability to create structure, bone, hair, skin, nails, and their total serum cholesterol, because now they're metabolizing it, starts to lower and lower. We've got to partner with the doctor, which is why we've got to really make sure that our medication guide is filled out to know at what milestones do we alter that medication. It can be the same for supplements too. There's so many phenomenal supplements out there that individuals use as a replacement for statin drugs to lower the total serum cholesterol. But if you're using a food prescription and you're really repairing the why, it's critical that we know why we're taking a supplement, what it's supposed to evoke, and that as our body heals, that we're making sure that we're on the appropriate amount of a given support. So the last thing that I love that we use in our workbook, and that is so important from a cholesterol perspective, is that we're going to use our home kits to measure and really be careful as we're using this effective food prescription, that if we're using any supplements or any medications, that we're also making sure that our data, our numbers, make sure that that original approach to treatment is still relevant to our current health status. So one thing that I add in is a laboratory definition guide, a super simple one. So many times I get clients that come in and I say, how was your physical? How were your labs? And they say, I got a call from the doctor and everything was good. Everything was great. And I said, well, do you have a copy of them? And they don't. It is your right to have a copy of those. You want to make sure that you have all of your health data with you at all times, especially when we're looking at cholesterol levels. I have an individual in her 70s. She started on a statin drug. She was given it during a doctor's visit because she disclosed that her family had significant health history of cholesterol issues. She started at 10 milligrams. She was a fairly small-framed woman, but that the doctor felt, given her family history, that she had a genetic predisposition to having elevated cholesterol. We were about 8 weeks into that visit. She had 8 weeks into taking Lipitor, and I said, we really should look at those labs. We called, we had the labs faxed to us. Her total cholesterol was 162. She had started on a statin drug before even getting data that said she needed a statin drug. And because she received the doctor's note that said, hey, your labs look great, the two had never connected and realized that she was on a medication that she didn't even need. So it's so important that, in my opinion, we want to use food as our first line of defense, as our most important prescription to optimize the body in every way that we can, especially when we're talking about cholesterol. Because remember, we no longer think of cholesterol as a bad thing. Cholesterol is now our biochemical gold. If you're an individual that needs medication, what we want to do is have your body in the optimal health. So instead of maybe 80 milligrams, you can do 10. Maybe you won't need it altogether. Either way, it's important that you have the data and the information to make the best health choice for yourself. That you see my book as a playbook that takes you step by step how to heal the body's ability to burn cholesterol and manufacture all those incredible things. The estrogens, the progesterones, testosterone, those glucocorticoids, the mineral corticoids, and vitamin D. There's so much health benefit that you can gain from metabolizing cholesterol efficiently. And there's so much health benefit that you're missing out on when we inhibit the production of cholesterol with medications. They're there for us in a crisis situation. They're there for us to use with the value that they have as carefully and strategically as they were designed to play the role in our health. If you don't need them, we don't want you to use them. And if you need them, we want you to have the healthiest body so that you can reap the benefits of those medications. Many medications in the cholesterol world only have to be effective 35% of the time to be approved for use. So if you need them, I want to make sure you're one of that 35% of people that are actually going to get any kind of benefit. Cardiovascular studies after study in the National Institute of Health is now coming out saying that using cholesterol medications to lower cholesterol does not reduce the risk factor of heart disease. It's only when you metabolize cholesterol that you reduce those risk factors. If we take a step back and we look again at what our body does with that amazing cholesterol molecule, we can see why metabolizing that reduces our stress levels, improves our hormones, increases and balances our immune system, our brain chemistry, regulates our blood sugar, manages inflammation, and improves the hormones that allow your bodies to adapt to stress. So one thing I'm going to tell you is we've all made that shift together. We love cholesterol. And because we use a food prescription, we love what our body's doing with cholesterol. It's creating the health we deserve. Thank you.